that some of these things correspond with the chapters of the book, $100 Million Money Models. You'll also know that some of these things are not included in the book. And that is because some of these things are extras. They're Easter eggs. They're my gift to you for actually making it over to the internet where you can watch with your eyeballs and listen with your earballs. I will have things that are additional to the book chapters that go in a little bit more depth, because with a book, you have to be super, super constrained in terms of attention. With videos, they can be a little bit more engaging. And so I cover a few more examples, a few different examples, and add in some chapters that I ended up cutting out in the final version. So enjoy. With that being said, let's get into context. Context. The purpose. So why does this book exist? The $100 Million Offers books answered the first question, what do I sell? Because if you have nothing to sell, there's nothing you can do. Now, from there, once you have something to sell, you need somebody to sell it to, because you still can't get money unless you have a person who gives you that money. Great. $100 Million Leads answer that question, which is how to get strangers to want to buy your stuff, which the subtitle of that is advertising, and the core 4 and lead getters and all the things we go into in that book. So why does Money Models exist? Well, Money Models exist between both of these books, which is how to monetize. If you have something to sell, and then you have people to sell it to, then you have okay, well, how do I get them to give me money? How do I get them to buy more stuff from me? How do I actually make a profit from this? And how do I profitably advertise in order to let even more people know? All of those questions were answered in this book. And to give you a little bit of backstory on this really quickly, I wrote this book first. And it was because this was my cookbook for making money. This was all the tricks that I knew about making a business make more money. But then I was like, okay, I can't wait to release this thing. And then I realized, oh shoot, unless they know how to advertise, they're not gonna be able to use any of the stuff in this book. So I was like, okay, I gotta start writing this book on leads and advertising. And as I was writing this book on leads and advertising, I was like, oh crap, if they don't have anything to advertise, they're not gonna be able to use this book. So then I had to write leads. So I ended up having to write 2 books in order to get to this 3rd book in the trilogy, which I'm excited to share with you now. So why do I write these books? This is a little Isaac Newton. If I have seen further than others, it is by standing upon the shoulders of giants. And so my goal is to pass as much on to you as I possibly can, and hopefully make you lots and lots of money. And maybe someday you hit me up and say, hey, can you invest in my company? And I'd be happy to do that. Otherwise, just make money. I'm going to die. So are you. And at least we can share some stuff. All right. Big picture, we're all here because other people in the past documented what they did for generations. We may not remember the names, but we do pass on the learnings. And so that's kind of my goal here. And so education is the greatest legacy of all. That's why I make all the stuff that I make. All right. And so consider the alternative. You live a life amassing education and then you die. And then everyone has to relearn what you learned. Everyone suffers what you suffered. What a waste of a life. And so I do this while I grow because I don't want to forget the little details at the end of my life. Because some people are like, oh, I'm going to document at the end. It's like, well, you're going to forget all the details by then. And so I try and make as much stuff as I can as I go up. Breadcrumbs, if you will. Simple skills are easy to teach. Complex skills often include some type of mentor or apprentice relationship for years to transfer knowledge. So think about like deal making, surgery, scientists. Those are things that usually are complex skills, but it's more so that there's just bundled terms that have many skills underneath of them. And so it's more that people have a harder time quantifying it than it is that they are complex versus simple. But the thing is that there's not very many apprenticeships for business. This is the problem, right? And so my books and my trainings are my attempt to mimic apprenticeship at scale. So here's the problem this book solves. Most advertising isn't profitable, AKA people lose money getting customers. And so let me explain how this works. Let's say you make $1,000 in profit per customer over the lifetime. So this would be a lifetime gross profit of $1,000. And it costs you $100 to get a customer. That's CAC, cost to acquire a customer, CAC. So LTGP is 1,000, CAC's 100, LTGP to CAC, which is a ratio, is 10 to 1, which means for every dollar you put in, you get $10 back out. Now you should make that trade every time. But what if you make the $1,000 in a bulk payment 12 months later? Well, shoot. So that means you put $100 out today, and then you do all this work, and then you get paid a year later. Ugh. Well, you should still make the trade, but you're going to have a lot of cash flow problems, right? So you have your -100 day 1 or month 0, and then you're still losing money all this time delivering to the customer, and then finally they pay at the end. It could be equally said that let's say if we had a 10-year LTV and someone paid you $100 a year for $8.33 a month for the next 10 years, you should totally make that deal. You're still not going to have any money even be profitable until month 13. You would either have to burn your own savings, which sucks, You'd have to burn other people's savings through debt and equity, meaning you sell portions of your business in order to get more cash. You do fundraising, right? Or you raise some sort of loan from a bank so that they can basically fund your business while you wait to get this money back from customers, which sucks and is hard. And I get it because I've been there. But the good news is there is a better way, which is door three. Make more than $100 in profit in the first 30 days for this particular instance. And so this book is door three. So if the problem is that most advertising is profitable, the solution is something I call client finance acquisition or customer finance acquisition. CFA is sometimes what I refer to it as. And the point of that is to make money faster. This enters the element of speed into the conversation, not just how much you spend, how much you make back, but how fast you make it back. Because how fast you make it back can be the thing that unlocks all the growth in your business or takes your business overnight. So, customer finance acquisition or client finance acquisition, CFA, is a process in which gross profit generated from a single client within the first 30 days is greater than the cost of acquiring that customer. So, where gross profit, the extra cash that you make from somebody coming into your business from one customer in the first month is more than the cost of getting that customer. Now, if you're listening or following along from the book, this isn't in the book. And the reason for that is that every single of my proofreaders, as soon as I start getting into math, they're like, I don't know if people are going to be able to follow along with that. And so I ended up just cutting the math sections from the book, but they are here because it's important. So the purpose of this is to accomplish customer finance acquisition. So here's a quick story for you. So let me tell you how this all started. So this is me when I signed my first lease at $5,000 a month. That's me not knowing what I was doing. And this is where I slept. And that's my really fancy equipment that I was able to afford. And so I heard about this thing called Facebook marketing and things started going well. This is actually a picture I sent to my dad after the first week of having my gym to show how many memberships. I actually was very proud of this, which is kind of silly now that I look at it. It's like I had 18 memberships, but I was super proud of this. I'd hustled all day to get that. And so the thing is that things started to grow. And so that was good. This was my 1 year. There's my little dinky streamers because that's what I could afford at the time. But things were going well. Like all my clients showed up, which was kind of sweet. And we grew over to 9+ employees. So that was cool. And I started to feel like I had it figured out. I was like, I'm a businessman. And then of course, Facebook slaps me and they 5x my cost per lead. And so what was once a money, torrential hurricane or downpour turned into the Sahara Desert or whatever desert this is. And all I could think about was, having to call my dad and say, I'm a failure. This actually didn't work. I didn't really know what I was doing. And that would have sucked, right? And so all I could think about was how can I afford to pay for more leads, right? Like the business worked, everything was fine. It's just my cost per lead went up. And so I needed something that was immediate cash up front so I could pay off my credit card bill for the ad spend without going into debt. And so I want to highlight one key point right now is that two types of business owners. One type of business owner tries to keep figuring out and being upset about the things that are out of their control. If CPMs, the cost per impression goes up on a platform, you can either afford the impressions or you can't. Now you can beg, borrow, and steal and wish that the impression cost goes down, but it's not going to change anything, right? Of course, you can make better ads, you can make better hooks, things like that. But fundamentally, my lead costs went up. So you can either go out of business or you can try and figure out a way to make more money per customer. And so that's what we did. All right. And so this is what happened. So I'm traveling home for the holidays and I've got this layover somewhere and I see a guy from college in the same waiting area. And I was like, oh, no, shoot. I was like, hey, what's up, dude? So we start chatting and it turned out that he started a supplement business. I was like, oh, okay. Kind of interesting. And so I was like, hey, so how much do you make a month from your supplement company? He's like, well, I got 2 locations. One does about 80,000 a month. The other is 130,000 a month. And I was like, a month? It's like selling supplements? And, and I was like, hold on. I was like, if this guy can make an extra 80,000 a month selling supplement without any members, I got a gym. He has no gym. I've got a gym with members. He doesn't have members. I was like, I can definitely sell 20 grand a month with my members just to cover my costs. And so I put an order for supplements to resell at my gym. And at first, of course, no one bought until one day I was able to make a sale. And then from that day going forward, I began selling $200 per person in supplements. So about $100 in profit. And that $100 offset my cost of getting a new member in the door. And so I used to have to spend money to get the person in the door and then sell them stuff and then wait to get, recruit membership costs, et cetera. But here with the supplements, I could sell them supplements up front and I made my cost to get the customer back. All right. So I was able to start spending way more money on ads again because it paid for my advertising. And so it made all the new members and the cash they paid free, which is sweet. And so the moral is that I made another offer. And when I made another offer, I made more money. And so the outcome was I was able to get paid to get new customers. And I'll say that again. I was able to get paid to get new customers. So most people pay to get customers. I was getting paid to grow. And so my gyms grew. And so over time, I continued to get better and better at recombining the way I charged and structured my client journey to make more money than my competitors. And so I went from making like 4 to 5 to 1 to making 31 and up. So like every dollar I put in, I would get $30, $40 back on my marketing. And I'll show you how I did it. All right. So I eventually took that multi-step money model and licensed everything about it to 5,000 plus locations. And that's what became Gym Launch. And the average return on ad spend in the first 30 days across all those gyms, all right, not including memberships, to this day is 4 to 1. And that's upfront. That doesn't include membership. So that's not a true LTV to CAC ratio. I'm saying that's the upfront cash they collect in the first 30 days from customers. They still have the whole membership on the back. And so that's what I'm going to break down for you in this training, all right, which is exactly how to do that at any business, which is build a money model that allows you to never use your own money to get customers again. All right, that means that you're no longer constrained by how much capital you have, who you know, what your bank lending terms are. It's just about what you can design in terms of how you build your money model so that you can use other people's money, not banks, but your other customers' money to finance your growth. So that was my quick story. All right. And we have given you context. Now we begin. How businesses make money.